E-clock on the wall of Prestige National Bank's flagship branch in downtown Chicago struck 2 p.m. on a crisp Tuesday afternoon. The grand lobby, with its polished marble floors and towering crystal chandeliers, exuded an air of opulence and authority. Dr. Olivia Bennett, CEO of the bank, stepped through the towering glass doors, her tailored charcoal gray suit accentuating her poised silhouette. Her designer leather briefcase, monogrammed with her initials, swung lightly at her side. Each click of her heels on the cold stone floor echoed with purpose, a testament to her quiet but undeniable authority. Olivia approached the premium banking counter, reserved for the bank's most elite clients, senior executives, and board members. Her presence was commanding, yet she carried herself with a calm, approachable grace. The young teller, Jessica Larson, barely 25, with neatly styled blonde hair and a meticulously made-up face, glanced up. Her expression soured almost instantly, suspicion flickering in her eyes. "Sorry, the standard customer line is over there," Jessica said. Her voice clipped as she pointed toward the regular teller stations across the lobby. Olivia paused, her deep brown eyes steady. "I need to use the premium banking services," she replied softly but firmly, her tone leaving no room for misunderstanding. Jessica's brow arched, her skepticism palpable. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of condescension. The exchange was subtle but charged, the kind of moment that often goes unnoticed but carries the weight of deeper prejudice. Olivia, a black woman who had risen through the ranks of the financial world with grit and brilliance, was no stranger to such encounters. Yet this one stung more sharply. It was happening in the very institution she led. At precisely 2:05 p.m. The golden afternoon light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a warm glow across the lobby. The chandeliers sparkled above, their reflections dancing on the marble below. The Prestige National Bank, a financial titan with over 50 years of history, was a symbol of wealth and stability. But today, it was about to become the stage for a battle far greater than any financial transaction. Jessica's impatience grew. "Ma'am, we have a strict policy. No appointment, no VIP service. Please move to the standard line," she said, her voice louder now, drawing curious glances from nearby customers. The lobby, usually filled with the soft hum of transactions, fell into an uneasy hush. A few clients seated in the plush leather chairs looked up, their expressions a mix of curiosity and discomfort. Olivia felt the weight of their stares but remained composed. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "I require premium services." Her words were measured, but they carried the authority of someone who knew her place not just in the bank, but in the world. Before Jessica could respond, a tall man in a gray suit emerged from behind the counter. Bradley Mitchell, the assistant manager, was known for his rigid adherence to protocol and his knack for handling difficult customers. His scowl was unmistakable as he met Olivia's gaze, his eyes narrowing with a challenge. "What's going on here, Jessica?" he asked, his voice loud enough to carry across the lobby. Olivia's heart quickened, not with fear but with the realization that this moment was about to escalate. She braced herself, sensing that this was no longer a simple misunderstanding, but a public test of her authority and a reflection of a deeper systemic issue. Bradley's presence intensified the tension. He folded his arms, leaning back slightly as if asserting his dominance over the situation. "Ma'am, could you please explain exactly why you're requesting our premium services?" he asked, his tone dripping with contempt. The words premium services were emphasized, as if Olivia could never belong in that exclusive world. Olivia paused, her piercing gaze fixed on Bradley. She recognized this for what it was, not a procedural question but a display of bias, rooted in assumptions about her appearance and race. "I am fully entitled to access these services, Mr. Mitchell," she replied, her voice steady and authoritative. "I don't think further verification is necessary." Bradley's expression hardened. If anything, her calm demeanor seemed to agitate him further. He stepped closer, his voice rising. "Ma'am, Prestige National's premium services are reserved for clients whose assets or income meet very high standards. We cannot serve those who don't meet the criteria. I trust you understand." The air grew heavy. Customers craned their necks, some whispering, others exchanging uncertain glances. Olivia felt the sting of injustice, but she held her ground, her posture unwavering. Behind Bradley, Jessica shot her a look that was equal parts curiosity and skepticism. Bradley turned to Jessica, lowering his voice but still audible. "Have you verified this customer's information?" I need to know exactly who Miss Bennet is. Not yet, Jessica replied, her tone uncertain. Do it now, Bradley snapped, his eyes never leaving Olivia, as if he feared losing control of the confrontation. Olivia's frustration surged, but she refused to let it show. She understood the root of Bradley's behavior, prejudice, so ingrained he likely didn't even recognize it himself. But she wasn't here to educate him, not yet. She was here to assert her rightful place. Mr. Mitchell, she said, her voice cutting through the tension, you should reconsider both your tone and your assumptions. You're making unfounded judgments about me. Bradley's lip curled into a smirk, as if her words were a personal affront. I'm protecting this bank's interests, he replied, his voice provocative, and I will continue to do so until I am absolutely certain you belong here. The tension in the lobby was palpable, a suffocating weight that pressed down on everyone present. A few customers stood, hesitating as if considering intervention, then sat back down, unsure. Olivia realized the situation was spiraling into a public crisis, something she never imagined facing in the bank she led. Bradley glanced at his watch, his voice cold and final. You have exactly 5 minutes to prove your credentials, or we will ask you to leave immediately. Olivia's righteous anger flared, but she maintained her composure. She knew this wasn't just about her, it was about every person who had ever been judged unfairly, dismissed, or humiliated because of their appearance. At that moment, Regional Manager Patricia Kane stepped forward, her jet-black hair pulled into a tight bun, her piercing eyes adding a new layer of scrutiny to the scene. She stood beside Bradley, her presence signaling her full support for his stance. Miss Bennet, Patricia said, her tone steely, we need you to produce clear documentation of your income and identity immediately. This is a standard requirement, especially for Prestige National's premium services. The words were carefully chosen, but their implication was clear. Olivia felt the weight of every gaze in the lobby, like tiny blades of judgment. Yet she remained resolute, refusing to waver. If you truly qualify for these services, Patricia continued, her face betraying no warmth, you'll have no issue providing the necessary paperwork. The whispers in the lobby grew louder, the tension threading through the grand hall. Olivia exhaled softly, holding back the anger rising within her. I'm confident you and Mr. Mitchell can verify my credentials without making this more complicated, she said, her voice steady but firm. Patricia's lips curled into a mocking half-smile. With a subtle nod, she triggered the large screen behind the counter to flicker on, revealing the stern face of Regional Director Robert Harris. His salt-and-pepper hair and angular features exuded authority, but his expression was deeply skeptical as he surveyed Olivia. What's going on there, Bradley? Harris's voice boomed across the lobby, drawing every eye to the screen. Bradley stepped closer to the monitor, raising his voice. Mr. Harris, we have an unidentified client demanding premium services without the required documentation. Harris's gaze lingered on Olivia for a moment, his skepticism palpable. Then, in a commanding tone, he said, Miss Bennet, I'm ordering you to provide your full identity and income verification immediately. If not, for the bank's security and reputation, you will be asked to leave within 5 minutes. The words echoed through the lobby, amplifying the suffocating tension. Olivia felt the weight of 100 judging eyes, but she locked her gaze on the screen. Mr. Harris, she said, her voice ringing with clarity and resolve, are you certain you wish to pursue this course? I believe this decision could have serious repercussions none of us want to witness. For a fleeting moment, Harris seemed taken aback by her sharp reply, but he quickly regained his composure, his tone growing firmer. My decision stands. You have exactly 5 minutes to comply, or you will be asked to leave immediately. This choice is final. The lobby was a pressure cooker, every eye fixed on Olivia as Bradley and Patricia exchanged self-satisfied glances. But in the midst of the scrutiny, a young woman named Sarah Brooks, seated in the VIP area, quietly pulled out her phone. A social media influencer with a modest but growing following, Sarah had intended to capture a few clips of the bank's luxurious interior for her Instagram, but what she witnessed now was far from ordinary. Silently, she switched to Instagram Live, her screen lighting up with hearts and emojis as viewers began to join. Hey everyone, she whispered into the mic, her voice barely audible in the lobby but clear to her audience. I'm at Prestige National's downtown Chicago branch. There's a serious incident unfolding. This well-dressed black woman is facing blatant discrimination by the bank staff right in front of me. Within minutes, her viewer count surged past 2,000, then 5,000. Comments flooded in. Unbelievable. This is a renowned bank. What are they doing to her? Someone tagged the media. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she kept the camera steady, capturing every tense moment. Patricia noticed Sarah filming and leaned toward Bradley, her voice urgent. Bradley, someone's recording us. This could become a huge problem. Bradley glanced at Sarah, a flicker of panic crossing his face before he masked it with arrogance. Ignore her, Patricia. We can't let anyone see us lose control. Just follow protocol. On the screen, Harris's expression remained cold. I'll repeat myself for the last time, Miss Bennett. You have exactly 5 minutes to present your documentation, or guards will be instructed to remove you immediately. Sarah's breath caught as she narrated to her audience. They're threatening to escort her out. This is unacceptable. Share this video everywhere. The hashtag #PrestigeNational began trending as the live stream reached 8,000 viewers. The outrage spreading like wildfire across social media. Olivia stood her ground, her heart racing but her exterior calm. She locked eyes with Bradley, then Patricia, and finally Harris on the screen. You are making a grave mistake, she said, her voice unwavering. Continuing down this path will have serious consequences, and I assure you, none of us want that. Bradley sneered, checking his watch. Miss Bennett, instead of empty threats, why don't you use your time wisely and prove your eligibility? His taunting countdown began. 5, 4, 3. Olivia calmly placed her sleek black briefcase on the counter. The soft click of its lock opening echoed in the silent lobby, drawing every eye. Sarah moved closer, her phone capturing every detail as the viewer count climbed past 10,000. Olivia pulled out a business card and a gleaming metal ID badge, placing them on the counter with deliberate confidence. The light caught the badge, revealing the bold inscription, Dr. Olivia Bennett, Chief Executive Officer, Prestige National Bank. A stunned silence blanketed the lobby. Bradley's face drained of color, his lips quivering in horror. Patricia froze, her earlier confidence replaced by panic. The room seemed to hold its breath as the reality sank in. Olivia met Bradley's gaze, her eyes sharp yet composed. She picked up the business card and placed it again in front of him. Bradley, she said, her voice echoing with authority. I suggest you take a moment to read this card carefully. Then you'll realize your mistake wasn't just unprofessional, it was extremely serious. Sarah's voice broke into her live stream, breathless with excitement. Everyone, she's the CEO. They just tried to expel the CEO of Prestige National. I've never seen anything this shocking in my life. The live stream exploded past 15,000 viewers, with hashtag Justice for Olivia trending nationwide. Comments poured. In unbelievable, they owe her an apology. Boycott Prestige National, Bradley stammered, his bravado gone. This can't be, he muttered, his knees visibly shaking. Patricia looked as though she might collapse, her eyes wide with horror. On the screen, Harris's stern expression flickered, his arrogance giving way to shock. Dr. Bennett, he said, his voice trembling, this must be some unfortunate misunderstanding. I will contact the board immediately to clarify this. Olivia's slight smile was not one of joy but of unshakable power. Mr. Harris, she replied, her tone cold but calm. I don't believe you need to contact the board. They're right here in front of you. What you need to do now is consider the consequences of what's just happened. Less than 10 minutes later, the tense silence was shattered by the sound of determined footsteps echoing from the main entrance. The senior leadership team chief of staff, Ellen Rodriguez, General Counsel Maria Sanchez, and compliance director James Wright entered the lobby with stern expressions. Ellen, slender but commanding, led the way, her sharp eyes settling on Bradley and Patricia. Mr. Mitchell, Miss Kane, Ellen said, her voice icy, explain to me immediately what is happening here, and your explanation had better be convincing. Bradley froze, his throat dry. Ms. Rodriguez, we were merely following standard procedure. I had no idea she was the CEO. His voice faltered, betraying his panic. Ellen's gaze was merciless. If you had known she was the CEO, would you still have treated her so rudely? What bank policy permits you to publicly humiliate any customer regardless of who they are? Patricia tried to speak, her voice trembling. Ms. Rodriguez, we only meant to protect the bank's interests. We didn't intend to. Maria Sanchez interjected, her tone measured but heavy. She raised a file from her briefcase, flipping through it deliberately. Our records show you deliberately applied undue pressure and created a blatantly discriminatory situation, in serious violation of professional ethics and applicable law. James Wright stepped forward, addressing Olivia with respect. Dr. Bennett, I sincerely apologize for this grave incident. I assure you we will resolve it as swiftly as possible. Sarah, still live streaming, narrated breathlessly. You're watching Prestige National's senior management team handle this live. The employees responsible for this discriminatory act are now facing consequences before thousands of viewers. Ellen turned to Olivia, her eyes filled with respect. Dr. Bennett, I propose we convene an emergency board meeting immediately to address this serious issue. Let me be clear, Prestige National will not tolerate any form of discrimination in our organization. Olivia nodded, her resolve unshaken. She knew this fight was no longer just about her, it was about justice, fairness, and the future of the institution she led. The boardroom on the top floor of Prestige National was a stark contrast to the opulent lobby below. Its sleek, modern design was overshadowed by the icy tension that filled the room. Every member of the board of directors was present, their stern gazes fixed on Bradley, Patricia, and Robert Harris, who appeared via video monitor. Bradley's hands trembled on the tabletop. Patricia's face was ashen, and Harris wiped sweat from his brow, his career hanging in the balance. Chairman Thomas Caldwell, a composed man in his 60s with silvery hair, sat at the head of the table. Olivia stood, ready to present. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice clear and confident. What you're about to see illustrates that this was not merely an individual mistake, but a symptom of a deeper problem within our organization. Played security footage in Sarah's live stream, showing every insulting gesture and derogatory remark. The board watched in silence as Bradley's contempt, Patricia's complicity, and Harris's orders played out. When the video ended, the room was suffocatingly still. This was no random incident, Olivia said, her gaze intense. These actions demonstrate that a deeply ingrained bias has been allowed to fester. Such prejudice not only damages our bank's reputation but violates the core values we pledge to our customers and community.